All right, so have you ever wonder what makes some people just so driven, like they're constantly reaching for something, always got to be the best?
Like they're wired differently.
Totally. And maybe there's something to that, you know? Today we're going to dive into that kind of ambition through this whole Enneagram thing.
Oh, yeah, the Enneagram.
Yeah, specifically type 3, the achiever.
Ah, the go-getters. And get this, we're going to use it to try to understand, get this Milton Friedman.
Yeah.
Like the Milton Friedman, the economist.
Huge name.
There's this YouTube analysis, right? And it argues that Friedman, his Enneagram type, is woven into his economic theories.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. When I first saw it, I was like, what? But it actually makes a lot of sense. So we've got some excerpts from it. And trust me, it's going to make you see Friedman's work in a totally new light, for sure.
But before we totally jump in, just a quick little reminder for anyone who maybe hasn't you read all of Friedman's works.
Yeah, yeah.
Milton Friedman, giant in economics, even today.
Yeah.
Loved free markets, that was his jam. Challenged a lot of the traditional economic thinking, and his work still has these huge ripple effects on economic policies all over the world.
He really wanted to minimize the government's role in the economy. You know, whether you agree with it or not, you can't deny he had a huge impact.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Okay, so this YouTube analysis we're looking at, it kind of paints Friedman as a potential type 3. They highlight all these traits: ambition, the drive for success and efficiency, and a real concern for public image, how he was perceived. I mean, that kind of resonates, right? If you've ever worked in a competitive field, you know that vibe. Exactly. Think about it. Type 3s, they're often drawn to fields where they can excel.
Yeah.
Right, where they can see the concrete results of their efforts. It's not just about working hard. It's about achieving something measurable, something that earns recognition. They want those wins.
They gotta see those results.
Exactly.
And wouldn't you know it, this analysis suggests that Friedman's whole urge to shake things up in economics, that was classic type 3. He wasn't content to just, follow the rules. He wanted to change the game. What do you think? Could that desire for recognition, could that have fueled his work?
I think it's definitely possible. And you see it in his work too, right?
Yeah.
Even today, we're talking about it. Decades later, people are still debating his ideas. And that kind of legacy for a type 3, that's everything. They want their work to mean something. They want it to last.
It's their mark on the world,
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is where the whole type 3 thing gets really, really interesting. This analysis, it connects Friedman's economic theory, monetarism, you familiar?
Oh, yeah.
To classic type 3 tendencies. They use all these words: efficiency, results, pragmatism, personal initiative, competitiveness. Does that sound like anyone you've ever worked with?
Oh, absolutely. And it makes sense when you really break it down.
Yeah.
So monetarism, right? Big idea is that the key to a healthy economy is controlling the money supply. Create stability. That focus on stability, predictable outcomes, it totally aligns with a type 3's desire for control, a sense of order, especially in a world that can be pretty chaotic, right?
Total control freaks. They want to bring order to the chaos.
Exactly.
And you mentioned personal initiative. That's a big part of monetarism too.
Huge.
It's the whole idea that individuals, they should have the power to make economic choices, take risks, be innovative, not just governments.
Exactly. Friedman believed that individual drive,
Yeah.
And ingenuity, those were the real drivers of economic growth. And that resonated with a lot of people, especially those who felt kind of stifled by government regulations. Regardless of where you stand politically, you can see the link to these core type 3 values: self-reliance, ambition, the belief that you can shape your own destiny.
You're in the driver's seat.
Exactly.
Okay, get ready for this quote because it ties it all together. The analysis points to one of Friedman's most famous lines, and it goes, "One of the greatest mistakes is to judge policies and programs by their intentions rather than their results."
Ooh, I like that
If
one.
that's not a type 3 statement, I don't know what is.
It's so true, though, right? It highlights their whole approach to decision-making. It's forget the good intentions or those grand ideals. Type 3s, they prioritize what actually works, what delivers those tangible, measurable results.
They just want it to work. So it's all about efficiency, right? It's not just talking about change. It's about actually having a real world impact. You got to see those results.
You got it. And that focus on results, it's a strength, but it can also be a blind spot.
Oh, interesting.
Right. The desire to achieve can lead to amazing things, but they sometimes miss those crucial ethical considerations or those unintended consequences along the way. It's hey, as long as it gets us to the goal.
It's like that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, or something like that. And so this analysis is suggesting that Friedman, if he was a type 3, maybe, he might have been more likely to prioritize those proven methods, even if those methods were, controversial.
And let me tell you, his methods, they ruffled some feathers,
Yeah.
but I think that's also what made him so captivating. He was this divisive figure. He was never afraid to challenge, what do they call it, the status quo, never afraid to challenge it, even if it meant stepping on some toes.
Which, again, screams type 3.
Right. They're comfortable being the disruptor. They're the provocateurs. As long as it means reaching their goals, shaking things up.
They want to be heard.
Exactly.
Speaking of being heard and standing out, this analysis connects Friedman's leadership at the Chicago School of Economics, big deal, and his Nobel Prize win, to a type 3's desire for prestige. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? For type 3, prestige isn't just about ego stroking.
Though it's definitely part of it.
Maybe a little, yeah.
Mhm.
But it's more about validation, right?
Yeah.
It's about seeing their achievements recognized on a larger stage. It's about the impact of their work, the legacy they build.
So it's not just about the awards themselves, but it's what they represent.
Exactly. It's the doors they open, the influence they gain, the opportunity to shape their field and leave their mark on the world. That's what really gets them going.
It's about the impact. Now, this YouTube analysis, they use this other interesting term for the type 3 social. They call them the most competitive and intellectual or strategist. And they connect this directly to Friedman's career. So do you think his strategic thinking, because the guy was smart, do you think that contributed to his influence?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Friedman, he was a brilliant strategist,
Yeah.
both in his economic thinking and in how he shared his ideas. He understood the power of clear communication, crafting these compelling narratives, building alliances to push his ideas forward. The guy was a master chess player.
He was playing 3D chess while everyone else is like checkers. He was a master at getting his message out there. Academic journals, popular books, even TV shows free to choose. He was everywhere.
Exactly. He knew that to influence public policy, he had to go beyond those, stuffy academic journals. He had to make these complex economic ideas accessible to everyday people.
And he did. Brilliantly.
Brilliantly.
And he wasn't just some talking head, the guy was charismatic. He could debate circles around people. And you always just kind of got the sense that he was a few steps ahead.
Always. That's that type 3 competitive spirit, right?
Yeah.
That constant drive to be the most insightful one in the room.
It's I see your point, but...
Did you even think about this?
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't just about winning the argument. It was about winning people over to his way of thinking.
Exactly. He knew that lasting change, that requires building a movement, right?
Yeah.
A critical mass of people who share that same vision. That's the hallmark of a successful type 3. They know how to rally people around their ideas.
It's a gift.
It really is.
Which brings us back to this whole Enneagram thing and how it might give us a peek behind the curtain of someone's work. It's kind of wild to think that something like your personality type could influence something as huge as economic theory, right?
It's wild, right?
It really makes you wonder, do we naturally gravitate towards fields that match our personalities? Or do our personalities actually shape how we approach our work, the questions we ask, the solutions we seek?
Whoa.
It's like that classic nature versus nurture debate. But instead of genes, we're talking about our work lives.
Right, do type 3s flock to economics because it rewards ambition and achievement? Or does being a type 3 make you see the world through this, economic lens where it's all about efficiency and results?
Wow. It's fascinating. I mean, think about it. Are there certain personality types drawn to certain professions? Are type 3s out there, running the world of business and finance, while, tech 4s, the individualists, are they more likely to be artists or writers? I don't know.
It's so tempting to put people in these neat little boxes based on personality type, but humans are so much more complex than that.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But even if the Enneagram or any personality framework can't tell us everything, it can still offer us some valuable insights, don't you think?
Totally.
Maybe understanding that someone's a type 3 can help us understand, what motivates them, what their strengths are, and even where they might, stumble a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It adds a layer of understanding. It's not about putting a label on someone, right? It's about seeing those patterns while remembering that those patterns, they play out differently in every single person.
Right, right. And in Friedman's case, it seems like this analysis is suggesting that his type 3 personality, maybe it was a big part of his ambition, his need to challenge everything, like he loved to challenge, and his skill at sharing his ideas with everyone.
He was a master communicator, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And he really knew how to connect with people.
totally. It's like we're kind of, holding up a mirror in a way.
Yeah.
We see Friedman differently, and maybe we even see a little bit of ourselves in there.
Yeah, for sure. It's like that self-awareness, you know? Maybe it can help us understand other people a little better, too.
Oh, totally.
It's like recognizing that their viewpoints and motivations might be coming from a place we haven't even
It's
considered.
about empathy, right?
Big time.
Remembering that we all kind of come to the table with different backgrounds, different perspectives, different experiences.
Absolutely. And embracing those differences, like not just tolerating, but actually embracing them. That's so crucial for those real, genuine conversations.
Yeah. And for collaborating, like actually getting stuff done together.
100%.
And honestly, isn't that something we need more of? Like, especially these days? Genuine conversations, conversations that help us like bridge those divides and find some common ground, even when we totally disagree.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's about remembering our shared humanity, even when we see things differently.
So well said. Okay, so to kind of recap for everyone, we're exploring Milton Friedman, the Enneagram, and this whole like wild connection between someone's personality and their life's work. What would you say is like the key takeaway you're hoping our listener walks away with?
That's a good question. I think for me, it really boils down to self-awareness, like understanding how our own personalities, how they influence our perceptions, our choices, even our impact on the world.
It's like that, what is it, know thyself, that whole Greek thing.
Exactly. Know yourself and use that self-knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Use it to become better communicators, more understanding colleagues, and ultimately, more effective change makers in the world.
I love that. And then who knows, maybe like if we understand ourselves a bit better, we can understand each other a little better too. And just maybe, big maybe, we can create a world that's a little kinder, a little more understanding, and a little more open to like all the different ways of being human.
Now, that is a goal worth striving for.
Right. 100%. Okay, so this analysis we've been diving into, it throws in this one final thought about type 3s, especially the social subtype, which they suggest Friedman might have been. They say that social 3s, they have this deep drive to be seen as valuable, not just for what they achieve, but for who they are as people. It's like they feel this need to prove their worth, but on multiple levels.
That's such a good point. And I think it gets at like the heart of what drives a lot of type 3s. It's not just about achieving outward success, for the sake of it. It's about earning love, earning validation by being seen as exceptional, as indispensable.
So it's like this constant striving, but it's for something deeper. It's more than just those awards and accolades, right?
Exactly. They're seeking that deep sense of belonging, that feeling of worthiness, which, and this is kind of ironic, but it can sometimes be harder for them to find precisely because they're so focused on that external validation.
Oh, wow. So it's like the very thing they crave, that feeling of inherent worth, it becomes more elusive the more they try to get it from the outside world.
It's a very, very human struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that type 3s, especially with their drive, their ambition, it often plays out for them in a very public way.
It's like they're wired for greatness, but sometimes that wiring, it kind of clashes with their emotional needs.
That is very insightful. It reminds us that even the most accomplished people, right, they're still human. They still have those insecurities, those worries that we all face. No one is immune.
Totally. Which brings us to a really important question. I hope you're thinking about it too. Does understanding someone's Enneagram type, or really any personality system, does it actually help us understand their work? Or are we just oversimplifying things? Like, are we just putting people into these neat little boxes that don't really capture how complex they are?
$1 million question, right?
Yeah.
And like most things worth exploring, there's not going to be an easy answer. It's not black and white. I think it can be both. It can be this powerful tool for understanding, but it can also be a trap.
How so? Like, how can it be both?
While on the one hand, frameworks like the Enneagram, they can help us see ourselves and others with more compassion, more understanding. They can reveal those patterns of behavior, motivations, those potential pitfalls that we might not see otherwise.
So like with Friedman, it's given us this new way of looking at things, like maybe his drive for achievement, his laser focus on results, maybe that shaped his economic theories.
And how he approached policy.
Exactly. But, and this is a big but, we have to remember that these are just frameworks. They're like starting points for understanding, not labels that define us or limit what we can do.
So it's about recognizing patterns without, falling into the trap of stereotypes, right?
Yeah.
Yes. The danger is when we use these tools to oversimplify, to reduce people to just their type. We have to come at this with nuance, with humility, with the understanding that every single person, they're a mix of experiences, motivations, contradictions, all these things that go way beyond simple categories.
I love that. So as we kind of start to wrap up our deep dive here, I want to leave you with this thought. Think of the Enneagram or any personality system as a tool. It's a tool for self-discovery, for building empathy, for understanding why people do the things they do. Don't let it become this box that limits how you see yourself or how you see other people.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a journey, right? Like we're always learning, always growing, always discovering something new about ourselves and other people. It's amazing when you think about it.
It really is. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive for today. But, the conversation doesn't have to end here, right?
Not at all.
So to everyone listening, keep those wheels turning. Keep exploring these ideas. Keep asking those tough questions. And most importantly, keep embracing what makes each of us totally unique.
Until next time, everyone.